everyone, it's Henry at Mowers and Blowers. Good morning. It's about 11:30. Kind of a cloudy day, but decent, pleasant weather, you know. As you guys know from yesterday's episode, I actually got this rebuilt engine running, and the only culprit was that I needed a new battery is what it was. The old battery was Dunsky, and my trying to put a jumper pack on it just wasn't enough cranking amps for it to generate enough spark for the engine to start, you know, or the spark was weak due to the... And so once I went to Walmart, I got 2 new batteries, I put it in, started right up. It took a little bit of cranking, but, you know, it started up and ran decently well, considering I never cleaned the carburetor. I just grabbed the carburetor from my bin of parts, put it on there, and that was my rebuilt engine. You know, I will tell you this, when it didn't start, the episode before I got the new battery, I was like, I guess I'm not really surprised. I've built about 12 engines or so in my life, and you know, I was really amazed that they all worked, you know, so it was just due for me to have an engine that I put together that, you know, didn't work. But I was so stoked when I put that new battery in, fired up. It gives me a little bit of confidence about, you know, my putting together engines and rebuilding them. I actually kind of know what I'm doing. I'm thinking to myself, you know. So it runs. It could use a new carburetor, or at least a carburetor cleaning, because it runs a little rough on idle. But I'm going to dial that in. So while you know this is a hauler, it has no deck, right? What I also discovered yesterday was that when the engine was running, I tried to see it run, you know, in terms of moving forward and backwards and all that. So while this does say a 6-speed, right, it's not a 6-speed. I discovered that it was a hydrostatic transmission yesterday because it has the freewheel engagement lever on the back. If it was a 6-speed, you wouldn't need that, you know. So when we tried this yesterday, I took it out of neutral, and I actually, even letting go of the brake, it would just move forward a little bit. So I think it's stuck in gear, first gear, and it won't go backwards. So today I'm going to try to figure out why the transmission is stuck, or maybe Dunsky, and I'm going to see why it only moves forward very slowly. It doesn't move reverse or faster in any way. In addition, this tire I pumped up yesterday, the other tire on the other side, and it went flat again. So it needs a little bit of ATF, I think, but I think maybe the leak might be bigger than a slow leak, and it could be bad. I'm not sure. But let's try to get this tractor running today. As you know, yesterday I also replaced the seat. The seat that I had before was completely trashed over here. This was a better conditioned seat that I had from another part, whatever, and I just taped around it, whatever, you know. It's okay. So I'm going to flip this on its side so I can get a better look at where the shifter is to the transmission. It's resting on my little mini chair with the brake lever, because that brake lever is very strong. I'm going to get you on a smaller tripod so that we can check out the situation of what the transmission looks like. Okay, so after inspecting the area, I'm going to take you to exactly what I saw. As you can see, the shifter over here is attached to this. On the other side of this, it comes to this area here where it moves. I'm gonna move it for you. See how it moves? So because that thing moves, it has to pull something around here. And then I was just looking around, and look, see this lever here? This lever here is attached to the transmission. There. As you can see here, it's not attached to this. I'm gonna move this to around first gear, which is what it feels like, and it's right there, see? So this thing disconnected right on first gear. So I'm going to find a bolt and a nut and put it right through there. And then give it a try. So I just put this nut and bolt here to secure this lever to this lever. And then watch when I move it around. So obviously it hasn't moved in a while. So I've got some toolbox buddy from my friends over at Lucas Oil Products. And this is just like WD-40. And because it's squeaking and stuff like that, because it hasn't moved in probably years, just gonna secure that a little bit and lubricate it, you know, so it doesn't make squeaky sounds. That might have been a break. So that ought to do it. As you can see, the hydrostatic transmission pulley is very small as opposed to the 5-speed ones where it's a very big pulley because it's only limited in your speed. This is a hydro gear. Good belt. Goes under this tensioner pulley, idler pulley, tensioner from the brake to the double stack pulley in the front. Take a look at the bottom of this. There's no rust anywhere. Very good condition tractor, actually. I do need to fix this rear tire. I like these rear tires because they're 20s. 20-inch tires make it look nice and beefy, but relatively clean. This tractor's in good shape. It would be a shame not to find a deck for this, you know? Still make some noises, but I ought to loosen up with some use. Okay, let's give her a try. See if it rolls forward and backwards now. Oh, this tire is really flat. It's actually off the bead. I'm gonna have to go and try to pump this tire back up first. For those that are new to the channel, you'll now know that I give tips of what I've learned over the past few years in terms of getting tractors going quickly and easily. As you can see, this tire is done! But if it's a slow leak, you can try and put ATF. Because it's off the bead, it's a lot easier for me to put it in. Normally you would take the valve out of the stem and then squeeze some automatic transmission fluid in here. This is just a bottle I use to get the ATF in there. You can use any ATF that you can find, but because this bead is already off, I'm just gonna shoot some in there. About 6 or 8 ounces, depending on the size of the tire and the severity of the leak. I've just shoved about 6 ounces in there, 8 ounces, whatever. If it's bad, it's bad, but it's worth giving it a try. I'm going to jack up this tractor right now because I don't want it to be on any kind of weight. I want it to be free in the air so that it can easily be placed on the bead. I'm going to try compressed air first without having to use ratchet straps. You know, just basically pull it forward, hope that the sides touch, and then you can be able to get it on. If you can't, you might have to compress the tire with some ratchet straps, wrap it around, tighten it, so when you push inwards over here, the sides go out, touch the sides, makes a seal, put the air in, and you're good. I'm gonna go get some compressed air now. I'm gonna see if we can just do it without ratchet straps. I'm gonna pull the tire forward. I still feel a leak. used my feet. I've used my feet to pull the bottom out, my hands to pull the top out, and made a seal when I didn't have to use the ratchet straps. So it's on the bead now. We got ATF in here, and I'm just going to inflate it. And then as we're going to test this, and if this rolls forward and backwards, drive it around the block, you know, and that way the ATF is circulated throughout the tire. Now ATF is designed to seal, not seal, but swell rubber. So when you put automatic transmission fluid in your transmission, the ATF gets to the rubber seals around the transaxle, and that way it seals it. If you have leaks there, it means that you're probably low on transmission fluid. So this is nice now. We'll see how long it holds up. That was easy without the ratchet straps, you know? There we go. Easy peasy. So this also didn't have a light harness. I had a spare. I just put the light harness in and connected it. Let's see if the bulbs work. If I start this. Choke. Brake. Let's see if it moves. Just took the brake off. Okay, so it's got a brake safety switch malfunction. When I take my brake off of there, it wants to stall the engine. That's weird. So I thought the issue was because my seat safety switch wasn't connected. Remember, I swapped the seat out with this one yesterday, and this one doesn't have a seat safety switch, so this was just hanging. So I thought that was the reason. So I bypassed it by putting this thing here. And basically it's mimicking the fact that it's attached, right? So I'm going to try it now, and we'll see if it lets me move forward and backward. So it doesn't let me do it. So it's really not this. It's something else. I think I might have to bypass the all the safety switches. We're gonna do that. So I've done a bunch of videos on how to bypass your safety switches, and it's really very easy, but I don't know, some people just don't seem to get it, you know. So I'm gonna do it like a 3-year-old. All right, so here is the wiring harness, right? I'm gonna pop out the ignition switch. Just like that. On the back of the ignition switch, right? There's labeling on it, right? Letters for the tabs. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tabs, all right? If you look carefully, I don't know if you can see it because these GoPro cameras aren't able to focus really close, you know? Anyway, if you look on the very top, L, G is over here, ground. S is this one right here. This tab right here is S. S is for starter or solenoid. M, magneto. B, this is battery. A2 is accessory 2. It's like for lights or accessories. A1 is, you know, for something else too, like maybe your fuel solenoid or something like that. The top one is for the stock light wiring harness. So we know that S is here for the solenoid. If you took a wire from here straight to the trigger of your solenoid, it bypasses all the safety switches and your engine will start no matter what happens, which is why they have safety switches, you know, it's for safety. But in instances like this where you just want to get the tractor running, you know what I mean? You want to see that because this is S, you match it up to this, right? As if it was connected, right? And you'll see that the white wire, this white wire here, is the solenoid. Okay? I'm just going to show you. Super easy. I'm going to cut this. You're going to do what? That's right. I'm going to cut it. I want to cut it right here because I want to give myself as much room as possible, as much white wire as possible. So I'm just cutting the white wire from the harness.
Are you crazy, Henry?
Yes, there he is. See? There's the white wire off the harness. I'm going to strip it. And then I'm going to remove this. I don't have to, but I'm going to remove it just to show you guys. This way you guys can see better. It's got gas in it, a lot of it, so I'm just going to leave it there. All right. Got you on my magnetic holder, and as you guys could see, this is a 4-post solenoid, okay? 4 posts, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 connections on this 4-post solenoid, okay? One's always going to be ground, which is obviously this black wire here going to here, okay? This one here, the red one, this cable leads to the back of the positive terminal of your battery. It goes and stops right there. This connection goes straight to your starter, okay? What happens is you send 12 volts to this trigger wire right here, this white wire, right? This is what they call the 12-volt trigger to the solenoid, okay? This wire right here, from your ignition switch, when you turn the key to start, it sends 12 volts to this solenoid, this 4-post solenoid. Inside the solenoid, a plunger moves up from an electric charge and makes the connection between this post and that post. And now you're creating a closed circuit that drives 12 volts of electricity from the battery straight to your starter, and that's what starts your engine, okay? So basically, this white wire goes through a whole bunch of spaghetti, right? Remove it off the tab. A whole slew of spaghetti that goes all throughout the safety switches. I could see by pulling this white wire that it's right here, okay? I want as much wire as possible, so that's why I'm pulling it. Ooh, there's 2 white wires, see? So you want to pull the right one. I'm going to pull this and see if it pulls my wire. And it does not. So I'm going to pull this white wire, see if it pulls mine. It does. So this is the white wire that I want to cut. Right there. I want to give myself as much room as possible. So here we go. I'm going to cut this white wire.
You're gonna do what?
Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to cut it. Okay, so here's the cut wire. And here's the cut wire, right? Guess what I'm going to do? I don't even need my own wire because I've pulled enough slack that I could use the existing wire. So basically, here it is. I'm just going to connect the wire from the harness to the ignition switch, the white one, and connect it to the white one that's attached, that was supposed to be attached to the 4-post solenoid. Okay? And now, you see what I'm saying? So now you're taking the 12-volt charge from the ignition switch, right? Straight to your tab. You're going to just connect this tab again. Okay, there you go. And now your engine will start no matter what. And that's how you do a full bypass on your lawn tractor. How easy was that? If you guys can't understand that, man, I don't know what else I could do. I'm gonna button those wires up, put the gas tank back on, and give her a try. I just put black tape over that connection. I'm putting the ignition switch back in. Putting the harness back onto the ignition switch. Taking the gas tank, putting it back on here. Okay, without even cutting, here we go. I'm going to start it and see if it moves backwards and forwards. Well, how about that? It didn't work. I gotta think about this for a second. Okay, so now I figured it out. I had another couple of tractors that I had the same issue with. So the circuit, it wasn't so much the solenoid starting issue. We always were able to start it. It's if you didn't get, if you weren't able to start your machine due to the safety switches, you would do that solenoid bypass. But our issue here is that the engine cuts off because of the safety switches. So we're not doing a solenoid bypass or the safety switch bypass. We're not doing a safety switch bypass for the Magneto, okay? That's what's shutting off the engine. So that's where my confusion was. So here's the black wire that leads to the Magneto. It goes into this harness and leads to this black wire here into the ignition harness, all right? Since it goes into 1,000 bunches of spaghetti, I have no idea where it goes to, right? I'm just going to cut it right here. This is the most I can get out of it, all right? So that's the Magneto. We're going to now find the Magneto one on this wiring harness again. And by looking, I remember that the Magneto was on the bottom there. Let me see. Okay, so this is matched up here. That's the Magneto one, and it leads to this double black wire. The double black wire leads to several safety switches, all right? So I'm just gonna cut them both.
You're gonna do what?
That's right, I'm gonna cut them both. Don't be afraid, okay? It's just wires. You ready? These are the two wires. These are the two wires that are coming out of the Magneto tab of the ignition switch. Boom! Just cut it. Okay? I'm gonna strip these.
Henry, why don't you use wire strippers?
Well, because I'm standing right here and I don't want to walk away from the camera. I'm putting both these together. And will this be able to? Yes, it will be able to. All right, see? So now I just bypassed the safety switches for my Magneto. So now it should only cut off the engine when I want it to, which is by turning the ignition switch. Okay, let's try it again. Oh, duh! Well, you do have to attach the wiring harness. Here, the wiring harness needs to be attached. Oh, it's not giving me any slack, see? So now I have to extend this wire. So I'll be right back. I'm going to extend the wire about 5 inches. So I've just added this. I guess I went overboard. It's a 2-foot line here, see? So it's not connected to this and that. I'm going to put the wiring harness back on again. attach it to the ignition switch, and now it should shut off when I want it to by the key. Make sure it's not touching any metal. All right, let's try it again. It should start and stop when I want it to, regardless of the brake, the seat, or the PTO clutch. It's not, now it's like not having any safety switches. There we go. As you guys just saw what I just did, we just bypassed all the safety switches by doing straight wires straight from the ignition switch to the magneto and the trigger tab of the solenoid. So now it's as if this thing never came with safety switches. So now this will start when you want it to, and it'll stop when you want it to. And as you guys saw, the freewheel engagement lever was in the back and it wasn't engaged. I just tried it and it moves forward and backwards. I'm going to tie this stuff up, clean it up, and we're going to go for a ride around the block. Okay, here we go. Tied up everything, cleaned up. But I am stoked that the transmission works, because last night I was thinking to myself, oh my god, do I have to do a transmission swap, you know? I will say though that something's kind of wobbly. This wheel doesn't seem to be on right. This one's okay. Rebuilt engine, running great. Guess that's why they make GoPro cameras, huh? So that's it. That honestly was an epic episode. I really enjoyed making it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. It was a lot of fun to drive around. It's pretty fast, you know, for a hydro, you know. Got this for free from my local friend Mark from East Northport. He gave me 2 tractors that day. This was the one in the worst condition of them. Put one of my 13.5 flathead engines on it. I didn't have high confidence it was going to work, and it didn't. Has absolutely no compression, so I'm going to use that flathead engine for parts, or if I run into a flathead engine block someday, I'll put all the parts and build that. I took my most earliest engine build that was just sitting there waiting for a tractor. It came, I put that engine on. The first episode, it didn't seem like it wanted to work, but after buying a new battery, we got it in there, started right up. So in the beginning, I was like, oh man, out of a dozen or so rebuilt engines that I've done, this is the first one that I failed at, you know? So I was kind of like down in the dumps, kind of, you know, low on myself for not being able to rebuild that engine correctly. But I was very happy though that all it needed was some more juice, you know? So you got a new battery on there, engine fired right up, runs great, you know? Put it on here. We did something that I've been doing for a long time, but I've never really made a very clear video on how to bypass all the safety switches by taking a straight wire from the ignition switch straight to the 12-volt trigger tab on the 4-post solenoid. Also, our issue was that it would shut off when the safety switches were engaged. The full bypass is if you bypass the solenoid as well as the magneto. See? So we took a straight wire from the magneto ignition coil straight to the M tab of the ignition switch. Bypassed all the safety switches. The brake, the PTO, and the clutch, and the seat. And like I said, it always works. Now you can turn on your engine no matter what, and you can shut off your engine no matter what. You never have to worry about your brake safety switch, your PTO safety switch, or your seat safety switch. I've done that a lot. I hope that this video is more comprehensive enough and clear enough for you guys to understand how to do it. And it's very, very simple. I know there are old school guys out there who say, oh, but it's not safe. It's not safe. All right, go ahead. Spend 2 or 3 days investigating out of the spaghetti which one of those safety switches doesn't work, you know? Honestly, if it's your own machine, you know what's wrong with it, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if you're going to sell it, that's a different story. But this is only going to be a hauler anyway. We put ATF in this tire as well. It's holding up just fine, you know? We connected the 2 linkages between the transmission shifter and the transmission lever together. And that was the reason why it was stuck in gear and it wouldn't go backwards and it wouldn't go more than first gear. So we got that all taken care of. I'm very satisfied with today. Got this thing running, driving, headlights work, safety switches bypassed, and it sure was a lot of fun driving this around the block. Thanks a lot for joining me on today's episode. We'll see you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers.